Uranus transiting Mars, either by conjunction, the 0 degrees aspect, by an opposition, the 180-degree aspect, or by a square, the 90-degree aspect, is the most noticeable of all the transits of Uranus on Mars. You definitely feel it. You feel much more the conjunction, though, and the opposition than the square. The square has 20% potency, but it's still quite disruptive. And what does happen in your life? This happens once in 25 years, one of those aspects that happen between Uranus and Mars, Uranus aspecting your Mars, so it's a rare energy. And Mars actually rules your energy, your physical energy, and your independence, assertion, self-will, and Uranus wants to awake these. Uranus is a very disruptive and very awakening, refreshing energy. It's almost like it awakes it awakes whatever planets it touches through spurts of energy. And it's not a constant flowing, increasing type of energy increase that you'll have. It will be more erratic, like you'll be given spurts of great energy and enthusiasm, which Mars rules. And then it will come down again, and you'll given again, and it will come down again. So it will be like start and stop, start and stop. And this process continues for about 1 year. And you can find yourself, your adrenals will be much more stimulated because Mars rules the adrenal gland. So you definitely will be someone who, during this period, who reacts much more aggressively than other times and reacts much more personally to, and much more irritably and sensitively to others, you know, because Mars is your own assertion and independence. And when Uranus activates it, if you haven't been assertive till now, you all of a sudden start becoming assertive, and others might be even very surprised. You can start wanting independence and breaking away freedom and acting. Mars is the action that we do. And all of a sudden start making some very untypical things in your life, very untypical and self-willed actions which can disrupt others, especially if the aspect is the square or the opposition. Usually this process of awakening of the Mars energy happens in a more disruptive way. So you step on a few people's toes and you might become more irritable, more angry. You might have outbursts of martial energy very suddenly, and you might surprise yourself because it's like a bolting that hits you, you know, and you surprise yourself that you found that assertiveness or that anger to express in yourself, and it's almost like a volcano that it erupts from time to time, you know. So be careful with your temper. And you become much more reckless during this period, much more daring. You become, it's a daredevil combination. Most of the car racers, Formula One racers, and people who look for big excitements in life, like, you know, bungee jumping and all these extreme sports people, they have this combination by birth in their horoscope. So for about a year, when you have this transit, you become a bit of a daredevil yourself, and you can go and do bungee jumping, or maybe something much more radical, like do actions that show that you want to have your freedom back, to do what your will wants, to do your to take authentic actions, you know, rather than allow others to restrict you, to tell you what to do. And just be careful that you don't do too many reckless things which upset others and which actually bring you some difficulties in your own life, you know, like rushing into certain things recklessly, or throwing out the baby with the water, as they say. But for those of you who need to assert their independence more and who want to assert their independence and who want to develop their self-will more and for whom this self-will was more lacking till now, it will be definitely a moment of awakening those energies in them. But others people who are very self-will naturally, who are very independent and who are very assertive naturally, which is Mars, they will actually, Uranus will want to disrupt this. And Uranus will make them become even more so, but to an extent which is upsetting to others. And they will be faced with confronting the consequences of this overly assertive and independent behavior that they normally have, you know, and they might have to bear the consequences, as we said. And your sexuality can also be stimulated because Mars rules the more primitive, primal sexuality, not the affection, the affectionate kind, loving, but the instincts, the thing that awakens in your loins and, you know, just makes you become much more sexual all of a sudden, and this can be awakening you, and it's not going to be constant, but it's going to be like in spurts of moments. Sometimes you have it for a 1 month, and then the next month is not then it's there. So it has a stop and go feeling, Uranus affecting Mars. Mars also rules, as we said, the self-will, so we can become highly self-willed. Be careful again with that. For some people it would be great, those who never had self-will before, those who never expressed their willpower properly, but for those of you who already have it in abundance, or who express it in a wrong way, well, you can get yourself in big troubles. And this is the combination also of accidents, because Mars rules accidents, and Uranus can bring something very suddenly happening in there. Mars rules the self-will, and going and doing things on your own head without listening to others, taking rash actions, and that's what Uranus will make you exactly go and act a bit mad and a bit reactive, so be careful about accidents. They don't always happen, but during this year when you're having this transit, it lasts, as we said, for about 1 year. Be careful, because it's much more likely for yourself to bump somewhere, to hurt yourself some places, or to exhaust your adrenals because of the spurts of anger or spurts of reactiveness, and much more reactivity than normal with Uranus activating Mars. And it's very advisable that you exhaust this increased Mars energy by exercise. If any time you're gonna exercise in your life, this is the time, and this way you can off-put any accidents or off-put any exhaustion of the adrenals, or any buildup of aggression and anger in yourself, and bursting and expressing this anger or hurting others through this anger, even sometimes being physically violent. I've seen clients who are so peaceful normally, and when this came, they actually got into fights and some really untypical things to them, expressing their physical energy and strength, which is Mars, and assertion in very unusual and unconventional ways, and actually very erratic and ways, which is what Uranus brings. And those of you who are actually more spiritual, more in self-control, they can use the abundance of energy which Uranus will bring to Mars, and the abundance of excitement, because Mars is the planet of excitement and enthusiasm, and Uranus will really increase this. And if you put it during this period, if you're someone who has more self-control and a plan and a goal to work on, you can really harness wonderfully this increased energy of Mars, and you can put into actions which are productive later on, rather than into crazy fights or aggression or certain erratic behaviors and actions which surprise and shock others, and self will run riot. But the best thing is, as I said, when Uranus is there, harness this creative and this surge of physical energy into exercise first of all, and into some project and a goal which will be productive for you, which is more inspirational rather than self-willed, because when Uranus aspects Mars, if you put too much self-will into everything you do, you're disconnecting yourself with the divine will, and basically you bear the consequences, as I said, which often can be some accidents or big fights and arguments with people, and breakdowns or eruptions, and it's not very pleasant. And Mars is also Mars rules your very strong opinions, things that you're ready to fight for, and Uranus can overstimulate that, so you'll be very willing quickly to react and to jump and to attack others who are trying to attack your own opinions and to attack your own opinions and thoughts that you're strongly attached to. So Uranus wants to liberate you from those thoughts and opinions that you're very strongly attached to, that you're willing to fight for with your life. And if you're not willing to let go of those, Uranus will probably bring people in your life who challenge all the time about your opinions and things that you're very attached to. And they will kind of step on your toes a lot, and they will somehow, as I said, challenge those opinions. So you can, if you're not willing to do it as an inner process from yourself, letting go of some old opinions and of some strong attachments and strong-headedness, if you don't do it naturally, while this Uranus transit is happening, then you'll be forced to do it because of outer circumstances, because people will challenge you on those, or because circumstances will put you in such ways that you have to concede to those. So yes, it wants to, Mars is very much about ego and proving yourself that you're right, you know, and the macho person, the warrior who always has to be right. And Uranus will overstimulate first this desire, but only so you can see the futility of this self-will and this macho-ness and this ego and trying to prove it, you know. And only so you can humble yourself in consequence and move into newer dimensions of expression of the ego. And on the mundane level, Mars rules, in particular in ancient Sanskrit astrology, Vedic astrology, the old book says that Mars rules property and lands and homes. So when Uranus aspects it, there might be some big changes happening around around properties and land and the home, and sometimes they can be quite disruptive. That's, you know, that's the Uranus energy, but it wants to bring some new energy in that area of your life, some readjustments and sudden changes there. So yes, that's what Uranus usually brings around Mars. So make sure you do more exercise, make sure that you find ways to calm yourself down a bit, usually through exhausting this crazy big energy that Uranus brings you, an explosive energy, by exhausting it and putting it in more productive projects, or, you know, or in more physical exercise, as we said. Well, please share with everyone how you experience your Uranus-Mars transit. So, of course, I've missed a lot of things to say probably, but I'm sure that a lot of you will add their own stories by looking at the periods that they had this transit and sharing what happened in your life then. How are you feeling emotionally? How are you dealing with these emotions? How are you dealing with the expression of sexuality, self-will, aggression, independence? How was your energy, you know? And how did you manage to solve the lessons so you can help others? Please, everyone shares, because I've never been through this transit myself. I've just observed others. Those who have experienced it can say best. Thank you.